Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Get to Know Them. I'm so happy you're here. Hopefully, you are safe somewhere inside. If you live in Ontario, we've got some serious weather going on right now, freezing rain and all that good stuff. So, what place is there better to be than here with me, nice and cozy, and listening to another inspiring story? I cannot wait to introduce our guest to you today. But before I do that, if this is your first time watching Get to Know Them, this is a show hosted by me, Monica Graves. I broadcast live here on Facebook every Tuesday from 1 until 2 p.m. And then I upload all of my videos to YouTube so you can catch them there afterwards. And I started this talk show just when the pandemic started and thought, wow, I know a lot of amazing people with fantastic stories, and I want to share them with you. So it's just grown and grown and grown. So if you go on our YouTube page or our website, gettoknowthem.ca, you'll see all of our past interviews. There are many, many to listen to, and I love talking to each and every guest. So along with our show, we actually have show sponsors. We have one, two, three, four now. Four show sponsors. I'm so excited. So our longest time show sponsor, who started with us from the very beginning, is my friend Brenda Badone, who is a wonderful clothing designer based out of Toronto, Ontario. I'm always wearing Brenda's clothes, so make sure you go and check her out. I noticed Mel Browning just came on, who is a friend from Roller Skating Rules, wears these beautiful blouses. And so Mel, check out my friend Brenda if you need more blouses. Our second sponsor is Scooter's Roller Palace, located in Mississauga. And a lot of you who are tuning into the interview today, I get to see you every Thursday there at the magical Scooter's Roller Palace. So come on out on a Thursday night. If you haven't skated in a while, be sure to check out the lessons at 7 p.m. on Thursdays, just to get your bearing again. Fantastic lessons they have there. So meet me there on a Thursday night. Our third sponsor is our latest sponsor, Flourish and Basque. flourishandbasque.ca. Use the coupon code Get to Know Them for 10% off of your order. And actually, you can use the same coupon code for Brenda and get 20% off clothing with her. I forgot to mention that. Flourish and Basque has a beautiful selection of alcohol-free drinks, and they have a sparkling rosé that is so delicious. So treat yourself. You can either go into their Oakville location or shop from them online. If you're doing dry January, it's a great place to check out some alcohol-free options. Last but not least, I am also sponsoring this show with my jewelry, glamjewels.com, GLAMJULZ.com. Go online, check out our jewelry, and we do a lot of pieces that give back for different charities. And also, if you have a charity or maybe just somebody who you want to support and you'd like to design a custom piece of jewelry with me and get it out to your networks to raise some money, please reach out. I'd love to do that with you. Okay, are you ready? We have Cynthia Storm Shingler on the show today. I'm going to read you her bio and then bring her on. I am so excited about this conversation, you guys. It's going to be great. Okay. So I want you to meet Storm number 64, also known as Cynthia Shingler. Cynthia started roller skating in 1972 at the age of 8 with classmates from school. That means she's been skating for over 50 years. As a lifelong skater, she's attended many all-night skates in Canada and the USA. Cynthia started playing roller derby at age 42 and played for 3 years. She was part of the Hamilton and GTA roller derby. She was part of the original skaters that started up in Canada in 2006. This was Cynthia's lifelong dream since she was a teenager. She worked in public health for 30 years. Her passion for roller skating is now motivated by wanting to stay active and healthy as she Yeah, she was 59 years old and soon to be 60. When you meet her, she looks 18 to me. I met Cynthia in person last spring while skating at Hamilton's Pier 8. Her story of reaching for her goals and gaining empowerment through roller derby is fascinating. I can't wait for you to hear all about it. Let's not wait another minute. There
Hello.
she is. How you doing, Cynthia?
Hi there. I'm good, thanks. How are you today?
Good. You honestly, when I see you at Scooters, you look like a teenager. Like you're so in your element. I think when we walk through the door there, we kind of all like, it's like a time machine. We go back to a special time, and also our light of our youth comes out through our eyes somehow.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
Magical,
Yeah.
for
It
sure.
is magical. It is magical. So I have to know, first of all, the first question I ask all my guests, and we kind of know, but maybe there's something further back, I don't know, is what did little Cynthia want to be when she grew up?
To play roller derby. Honestly, that's all I've ever wanted to do since I started skating. Yeah, it was
Wow.
seriously a lifelong dream.
God. Can you tell us a little bit, Cynthia? Because you and I have talked offline and you gave me so much great information about your journey with roller derby. Can you tell us about the day that you went in to see your high school guidance counselor about what you wanted to do with your life?
Yeah.
I love this story.
So you're 14 and you pick all your classes and then they're trying to figure out what your career path is after high school. And
Yeah.
I had a couple things like I wanted to be a nurse, I wanted to be a librarian, but what I wrote on the paper was, I wanted to play roller derby. I wanted to go to California and play on the bank track and, like I had this passion or this dream for it. I don't know because I'd only ever saw it on television. I never saw it in true life. So, but it always stayed with me, and I wish I still had that piece of paper because I remember it like it was yesterday.
Oh, that's great. And there was a movie you saw that inspired you as well. What movie was that?
So before I even knew roller derby was available in Canada, I used to
Mhm.
watch this TV series called the A&E Roller Girls. So this was the original pack of women that had started in Texas. And so they had evolved. They had a TV show, they had a bank track, but originally they started as a group of four teams and they were on a flat track. And then they sort of branched off. And this was the second group. They used to be called the Good Woman Bad Productions. And they had taken this like right to television, and there was a whole series. I have it actually. And I have it signed by Smarty Pants
Oh,
because I did meet her and I went to her training camp. So that was sort of the first thing in where I started, where my journey was, or sparked my interest about what is this roller derby like? How are they doing it on a flat track? There's no bank track,
okay. So a flat track is just what as it sounds, it's
just like
flat,
at
and then
scooters.
a
Yeah.
bank track has like ebbs and flows to it
So a
more.
bank track is it has to be built, and it's you have to have a storage facility, you have to have carpenters to put it together, like it's the old bank track that you would have seen in Charlie Angels the movie. It's what they used like from the 30s right up to the 70s, right? So there was only a
Okay.
few of them built. And yeah, so it's not something that you can just go out and buy. It has to be
Yeah.
built and made.
Yeah. And Raquel Welch was also an inspiration for you.
Right, because there
Yeah.
was that movie that she was in, and
Yeah.
that was around. I don't know any kid that didn't roller skate that didn't watch roller derby. I mean, pretty much everybody did in the 70s, right? So
Right.
that's where
Yeah.
that sort of came from, is like, we had one TV. My dad was like a crazy roller derby fan, so you watch what he watched, right?
Okay. So how did you feel like I'm only comparing it to myself, like when I see roller derby I feel like, oh man, this is so cool, very empowering, but I also feel like terrified. Like first of all, I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to hurt somebody else. Not that it's about hurting each other, but what is it that sort of made you look at this sport and say, "Oh yeah, I really want this." What was it about the sport?
I think because it was super competitive and I knew I could skate. I didn't really know what the rules were here or how they were going to do that. So basically, I saw um, a news. It was a news story about the tryouts in Toronto, and they showed a little clip. And I saw these women, and I'm thinking, geez, like they all look like they're all pretty new, like hardly any of them could skate. So then I started to send emails and, look up. I went to the library to try and do some research to find out, like, what is this that's happening here? And then that sort of, from there, I got a call back, and then, their teams were already filled. And I'm like, geez, like, I feel like I missed my opportunity, but it sort of came full circle because I had happened to be recovering from a surgery and was trying to think of something I could do. Like I knew I could skate, but I wasn't really interested in hockey, women's hockey. I got a bunch of equipment from a guy I know, and he suited me all up. And I said, I can't skate in this stuff, right? Because I had been rollerblading on the trails in Hamilton. And then I had a friend, and she's like, well, we should go play women's baseball. And I'm like, no, I played baseball when I was a kid. I'm like, that's not for me either. And then when I saw that story, I'm like, oh no, like I need to do this. I need to get on that team. So then I heard about a girl that was starting a team in Hamilton. But again, they were all filled and it was late. They'd already started. This was in 2006. But anyway,
Yeah,
they said, well,
amazing.
you can come out anyway, right? Like, and then they were saying, bring a helmet, bring elbow pads. And I didn't have any of that stuff. I mean, when I think back to being a kid, I'm like, I don't remember falling. Like, why would I need all that stuff? Right. But anyway, so I scrounged around and I was able to get it. And I went to one of their practice, and I'm like, I was skating back, like just put on my skates. I had my skates downstairs in a Rubber made container. The same skates I wore when I was 16. I just pulled them
God.
out.
So had you not skated since you were 16 at that point?
Oh
Like,
no, I had
or you had,
skated. I sort of skated between 7 and 17. I probably skated
yeah,
4 or 5 times a week for 10 years
okay.
solid. Then like you said, when you get to be a teenager, I mean, you start working, you have other friends, so you kind of leave the rink. I went back the odd time because my brother was still skating. My cousin worked at Roller Gardens. I went to the odd all nighter in Cambridge. I had a friend that was a skater at, like I said, at the Roller Garden. So we'd go periodically. But I really,
Okay, so you,
excuse me, but it was when my son was born and I was like, I need something to do, right? So I put him in the buggy and I got myself a pair of roller blades for outside and I started skating the Hamilton trails. And I
okay, yeah.
found, geez, I really miss this. I really love this. Like, so that's where it started. Then he wanted to learn how to ice skate. So I was taking him. So the whole skating thing was sort of coming back. But
Mm.
the roller derby thing, like I said, I was recovering from a surgery and I saw that news clip and I'm just like, geez, I got to do this. I don't know what they're doing, but I just got to do something there. And I just went out and then you sign up, you go to the practice, you meet the girls, and these girls were very what do I say, very intimidating because they're not
Yeah.
girls usually that I grew up with, right? They all look like bikers, and not that there's anything wrong with bikers, but we didn't really grow up with women that were fully tattooed, and these were a new generation of women, very tough, um, very empowered. They knew what they wanted. They knew how they were going to do it. They just like go getters. And, women I grew up with, we weren't really like that. You were in the shadow, you were in the background. It wasn't really ladylike to be like that. Right. So
Right.
they were definitely, and they were like 20 years my junior, if not more.
Yeah, so I was just gonna say, can you let people know how old you were
So I
when
was
you
over
did
40
this?
and I was
Yeah,
skating with girls that some of them, I remember I skated with this girl, Bruceberry Pie. Like she was 17. She couldn't even travel to the States because she was under 21, right? So they would have these parties afterwards and there's be lots of drinking and lots of stuff going on. And she couldn't even come on the travel team because she wasn't of age, so they were.
God.
And then there was a couple older, like my team captain, I think she was probably 10 years younger than me. She might have been about 32, 35 at that time, and her and I were the only two that were parents. I mean, I had a young son, he was 6. And a lot of traveling, a lot of Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto, like anywhere where we could get a game and somebody to play us, right? Like
Yeah.
that's because that's how you get better. And you have to remember these are girls that never skated. Some of them played hockey, some of them were figure skaters, but the majority of them are brand new. Like I would say within, 3 or 4 months of learning to skate. I used to bring them to Scooters on a Tuesday night in 2006 and say, listen, if you learn to rhythm skate, you will be such a strong skater. I'd encourage them to take lessons. But most of them
Wow.
were, they were self-taught.
Yeah. So, Cynthia, I'd love it if you can share with us kind of the of roller derby and the rules. Like, what is it exactly? Just for people who might not know what it's all about.
Okay, so the
As
flat
far as
track version is
Mhm.
there's 5 players on each team. You have your starters at the front, which is your pivot. Then you have 3 blockers. So there's usually maybe 2 front ones and 1 back. And then you have your jammer. So it's basically the whistle blows and the pack takes off. The second whistle blows and then the jammer takes off. So it's really an offense and a defense. You have to get your jammer through the pack, and the first one to lap the pack or get through is what they call lead jammer, and those are your point scorers. And then a
Ah,
jam is usually 2 minutes, and that 2 minutes seems like a half an hour when you're in it. And
oh,
people are screaming and the crowd's going nuts, and it's it's really hard to concentrate and to remember what you're doing. It's like you have to focus so much because there's so much going on, like where to be, how do you help your man. I always leave the jammers on their own because I'm like, if you're strong enough to be a jammer, you're strong enough to get through that pack, right? So we'll make the
right.
path so she can get through, but I usually leave them because the opposite team is usually trying to stop her, where we're working
Yeah.
on stopping their jammer, right? So it can be very confusing. There's so many rules now. There used to be a page of like 5-page rule book. Now it's like 75 pages. That's how much
Wow.
it's changed. The game has changed, and it. I was always under the impression like no harm, no foul. Because there is clear areas that you can hit and not hit. The game's changed so much now. It's more like rugby on skates than less skating, I find. Um,
Okay.
but it's how it's
Interesting.
evolved, right?
Yeah. So what was it like? Like I'm just picturing you at 42 years old, you're out there, you're doing derby, and you're probably coming home covered in bruises.
Um,
Wh- How is that?
Not really. Sorry
No,
to
you
say,
were,
but not really.
yeah.
I had more falls over 50 than I've had in my entire life. So I had a couple in
Okay.
Derby, but
Yeah.
not really because I was always I played the pivot, so I would always control the pack, call the plays, help the jammer get through, tell her where she's got to go. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, not a the thing with derby is like people think, oh, it's all these hard hits and everything. It's really not. It's you play derby. It's above the neck and up. Even though your body physically is involved, but it's really about strategy and how do you
Ah,
How do you play that other team? The more teams you play, the more plays you see, and then you become better because you're playing like stronger people, stronger skaters, stronger strategy, and it changes. It's always evolving. They're always coming up with something new.
That's incredible. So, you know, when you, like you were saying in the beginning, I mean, these women that you were skating with were 20 years your junior.
Mm.
And did you have other women your age that you met along the way? Like, were there a lot of women over 40 doing the
Um,
sport or?
Not at that time, I would say. There was a
Yeah.
few. Like I met a woman in Toronto. I went to a training camp, and this is a funny story too because I was in the one of the sessions or whatever, and I saw this guy there, and he looked like to me he had figure skates on, right? And I'm like, oh, I wonder who he is. And then so I went to another room and I met this woman, and turns out that she was from Hamilton. She was a competitive dance skater, and she was partners with my friend's older brother, and he is the one that taught me how to skate dance. And when we were kids, he would just pull me on the floor, come and waltz with me or whatever, and I'd be like, okay. And they were like Canadian champions, right? So her husband, this guy in the other room, it turns out his name was Jeff Brabant, and he's not only like a good skater, he's a world class speed skater, men's figures, like he's done it all. And he was training Toronto at this time. He was their coach. I didn't know this. So his wife brings me over to him and says, this is my husband. She says, you got to meet him. He is your biggest fan. So after
Oh,
that point in time, because I did feel sometimes that, I was older, and I knew I could skate them, right? Because I hadn't lost that. It was always with me. And
yeah.
so him and I, we sat down and had a chat, and it was actually them that talked me into into coaching and getting certified, which I did. And then, we became friends. And I mean, I was getting offers from all over to come out and train derby teams and stuff, but I really couldn't because I had a small son, and I couldn't leave him. And
Okay.
there was a whole story behind that with my mother too, right? Is that she knew I was playing derby at first, but then I had retired, but then I got sucked into this other team in Toronto because I only went to see what they were doing. And
Okay.
a guy I knew there, he's like, "Oh, you got to come and help these girls because they were the nicest girls I ever met in my life. They were like the Girl Guides of roller derby. They were so
Oh,
opposite of what was out there, like um so anyway, I ended up playing with them, and it just keeps evolving, like how you'll meet one person, and then they know somebody or somebody. It's all how the stars line up for you, I guess, if you believe
yeah.
in it. And I believed in that was my path, that this was something that I was meant to do, and I just followed it, like it's just how it
Beautiful.
works out sometimes. But anyway, it's
Yeah.
interesting current events, I guess, how it all panned out.
God. Yeah, that's incredible. It's true. I believe that as well. The stars totally. And we got to stop worrying about what other people think. If you're passionate and it's like setting you on fire, just do it.
Well,
And
I wish I could have done it when I was at their age. Like if I was
Mhm.
21, 19, like I would have been unstoppable. I was unstoppable already, right? Like
Yeah.
that's where the name Storm came from. And, you know,
Yes. So that was going to be my a question along our conversation. Um, how did you come up with Storm, and what does it mean to you?
so actually, Storm is my son's middle name, his given government name. He was born in the storm of 99. And when I was looking for a name, my friend and I, we were, tossing a bunch of names. I don't even know what else she had, but she's like, why don't you just use Storm? She goes, like, you skate like a storm. And, so that's, we looked up, what it meant and stuff like that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. And it Storm 64. So 64 was the year I was born.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of catchy. It was short, and
Mhm.
yeah, and it just, and at that time you had to register your name, everybody's name. I don't know anybody's real name. I don't know these people's derby names like Cheese Grater and Bruiseberry Pie, just different girls. And most of those girls that I skated with, they're all on Team Canada right now. They're going to be
God.
to 2025. They're going to be competing, so I'll be rooting for them all.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Like, I guess they'll be touring around to play each other, or does it all
Um,
happen in Toronto, or?
Usually the last 2 years ago, I think before COVID, um, they usually pick a main place and then they all would travel there, like
Yeah.
competing against like the best skaters in the US, right? The best skaters from every country. It depends how many teams are or how many countries are able to put teams together, because you either have to reside there or be born there. There's a
Okay.
whole
Gotcha.
criteria that you have to fit and follow. You have to pass minimum the WAFTA, which is the
Mhm.
Women's Flat Track Derby Association. There's a whole
Okay.
criteria you have to pass for that. And basically it's the best of the best, right? Like,
Yeah.
especially nowadays, like they've really evolved in the last 20 something years.
hmm And also in your experience, Cynthia, like you were talking about how when you joined the team and there were a lot of women who were like rougher than what you had been used to seeing. Did you see a lot of women who really transformed over their time in roller derby, where maybe they joined because they were struggling with something and the derby kind of gave them even more confidence? Because sometimes we like will show confidence, um but we may not feel all that confident. We might be feeling insecure. Like, did you ever see people who were kind of overcompensating and then it was like, wait a second, now they actually have hit their confidence level or because of the sport?
For sure, everybody has a story. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I've seen girls that were in bad relationships. I've seen girls lose a partner, maybe through a death. Um, Girls that they never really played team sports. They weren't very athletic. Um, all different walks of life. When I say these girls, like they were just fully tattooed, and I wasn't really used to anybody like that, like because
Mm-hmm.
tattoos have really evolved, right? Like they used to be if you were in the Navy or if you were in jail. I mean, most men had
Yeah.
tattoos, right? But now it's very mainstream, right? But
Yeah.
not having really known that, it was really a group of girls that started with Hamilton. They were a group of girls that worked at the Corktown, the bar. And
Okay. Yeah, I know that part.
yeah, it's all like rockabilly and that kind of music, right? So that wasn't my
Mhm.
scene either. So, but what you find out is you can't judge a book by its cover, right? Because everybody
Mhm.
has a different story and everybody's there for a different reason. That was the biggest thing I learned too, is that even though we're all very different, we're all really the same, and everybody just wanted to skate. We used to all meet up there on a Tuesday night. We'd all pack in people's vans and whoever was driving, and then we'd all go to Scooters, and then we'd skate for the night. And then there used to be a place there called the Winking Judge on, I think it was on right by Scooters, or maybe it was called some, but it was a pub. And then we'd go there after. We'd all have beers, because that's the thing. You can play girls, and you can pretty much pound the piss out of each other. Sorry for saying that, but it's true.
Yeah.
And then you go have drinks after, and then you laugh about, oh my god, like you gave me a good hit or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, or
Yeah.
the strategies that they would use, like, so that was a real camaraderie, because everybody just wants to get better. Everybody has the same goal, right? We all just wanted to get better at what we were doing. And it's a real growth, like you said, a process that you start as a rookie. You go through the fresh meat program, as they call it, because there's
So,
certain aspects of skating you have to be able to do, right? Because you can get seriously injured. Like I've seen girls with their cheeks ripped open, girls going no mouth guards, um, just different things that could be avoided, but because
right.
you gotta remember it's safety first. But the thing is too, is that you can't take on something more than you can manage. So a lot of these girls, they would feel like they were ready or they were skilled enough, because it's really about a skill set, that
Mhm.
they would think that they could manage somebody and they really couldn't, so they'd learn fast that, oh, I won't do that again. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I I always had this premise that I would never engage with somebody unless they engage with me, because I knew how powerful I could be, right?
Mhm.
And the thing about practice, you practice with the same team that you're going to play in a game. So I would just hold back a little bit. I wouldn't give it full force, because I knew down the road, like, we're going to play, we have to put on this show. And that's the thing about these women. They do the full production themselves. Everything from start to finish, from setting up the rink to getting the people for security to sell merch. Like, it's a huge production, and it's all self done. Like, there's no company that they hire to come in and do this. Not only do you skate, you pay to play, and you've got to be on the board of directors. You've got to have some hat. Say it's like you take all the rookies to scooters, and everybody has a part.
Wow, this is fascinating. I didn't know. What a community.
It is a very strong community, and
Yeah.
you won't find a better group of people. Let's say if I was going to, I don't know, Chicago or something, and I said, I'm here in Chicago. I used to play derby. I need a place to stay, or I'm lost. I don't know what to do. If I was to go on a forum and do that, I would have people reach out that I don't even know,
Mm,
because
beautiful.
once you're in that, it's like everybody takes care of everybody there a lot. Like I've seen it that you can go to a different country, never mind a different city. You can go to a different country and say, I want to come and check out your practice, whatever. And they will welcome you with open arms.
I love that. So, what made you retire from Derby?
Um, it was expensive, cost about $2,000 a year. It was a big time commitment. My son was getting older, and I felt like I'd kind of done this. Like, what was it? Was it derby or was it skating? And I found out that I really love skating. Even though I had done the derby, it was really about skating. And then that led to something else, because I was working at the fire department, and I don't know. One day, my coworker and I were talking, and I said, I'd really like somewhere to skate in Hamilton, but there is nowhere, right? All the rinks had
Yeah.
closed in the 80s. And she said, well, maybe you could do something. Maybe you could get a building and rent it, but there's all the insurance and all this other nonsense that comes with that. Because I tried. Like, I went to gym owners, I would send emails. Because I worked at the city, I
Yeah.
knew the contact, right? But insurance was the biggest barrier, and you have to be responsible for all of it, right? If you're going to be the undertaker of it. So when I thought about buying a bank track and opening it up to GTA and setting it in maybe Niagara, and then, all different kinds of things. I could put up my house, whatever, I just wanted to do something. So my son was playing in a band, a steel pan band. And my job on that board or committee or whatever it was to get in contact with them, because we wanted these kids to get on a boat and do like a Caribbean night. But
Ah,
I didn't want to rent the boat. So I was trying to tell the group, well, let's talk to them. Maybe we can be in a partnership with them. So they agreed. They sold the tickets. We brought our people, and we did a Caribbean night, and it was lovely, and everybody loved it. And then I stayed in contact with the guy, and then I called him one day and I said, you have that parcel of land there, like right by, well, I don't even think Williams was there. It was just sort of the path was there. And I said, what are they going to do with that? And he had said, well, that's going to be, they're thinking of doing volleyball, sand volleyball courts. And I'm like, oh, that's a shame. I said, because that'd be
Yeah.
a nice place for a roller rink. And then we got talking. I said, there's a huge community here. There's no place for anybody to skate. I said, I skate the trails, but, I'd love it if we could find somebody or something. Because I was looking for investors. I was looking for partners. Like, I just wanted somebody to, you know, pick this up, like, see what I see, but
Yes.
it was so hard. Like, it was so difficult because people think, oh, roller skating. And I'd be like, well, we just want your thing for in the wintertime when there's nowhere to skate or whatever.
Mhm.
Anyway, so then the executive director, he called me back and he said, listen, we are going to do a rink down there. It's going to be winter ice skating. And then the summertime, it can be roller skating. And
Wow.
then they built it that year in 2010. And then the following October, people were looking for a place to have a reunion. And then there was a bunch of people that used to skate at Roller World or Roller Gardens, and a couple guys and a DJ, and they put that night together. And then from there, I think the following year, then other DJs got on, and they all just sort of, it was a very grassroots, very natural, just how things can all come together. And then you go there now and look at it. Every weekend, people are there, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. I didn't realize it had been that long
Yeah,
that had been.
because I retired, I think, in 2009 or 2010. And I was thinking
Mhm.
of trying out for other teams and stuff, because then you had to try out for teams, right? And I thought
Right.
about non-contact derby. I even went to different places and I'm like, yeah, no, I don't want to do this. So it was like, yeah, I still want to skate, but I just didn't
Yeah.
want to, wanted to do more than the trails. I love the
Yeah.
trails. I mean, I love trail skating. It's like walking, but it's even nicer. And
Yeah.
and I started to set my own sort of, before I started playing derby, like we worked in this old building and I had this rickety old elevator and I was like kind of scared of getting stuck in it because it always got stuck. So I started doing the stairs. So there's like we were on the sixth floor. So it was like 120 steps or whatever it was. And I used to do that up and down every day, Monday to Friday, between floors, because we were on the second, third, and fourth, fifth, sixth floor, right? And I didn't know that that was my training. So that's why I was able to go to Derby, because I had already been doing this training that I didn't know it was really training at the time. So I was strong, I was fit, and I was well over 200 pounds at that time. That was the other thing. I had my age against me, had my weight against me, a lot of these factors, but it's if you let that hold you back, right? Because I was like, I don't care how big I am, or I can still skate. So
Yeah.
that doesn't. This is the thing, and when you're in derby, if you're plus or you're queen size, that's a bonus because you've got a lot of power behind you, and
Mhm.
that was really to my benefit. It wasn't a detriment.
Yeah. That's fantastic. I love that. I met a girl on the rink at Scooters, and she was saying to me, I wish I was a smaller size because I can't do crossovers. And I said to her, you're perfect the way you are, number one. And number two, look out there. You're only looking at yourself. Not everybody is, 100 pounds. Like, and everyone's doing the crossovers. Like, it's so true. I don't know why people think that yeah, that the size of your body should prevent you from doing anything. Like,
Because
that's such a
people think when
false.
you're larger, you're not athletic,
Yeah,
right?
I
Like,
guess
because
so.
it's you're, I mean, you could be, most jammers, they're small. Like, they're between like 90 and 120 pounds. They're very small because they need to be limber, they need to be fast, they need to be agile, right? But I've seen bigger jammers, but most of the blockers, like, um it varies. It depends on what you want to do, right? You're the only one stopping yourself from. And I always tell women when they say, "Oh, I'm interested in roller derby, but oh, it's so dangerous and it's so this." No, it's not. Like there's a lot of
Mhm.
skaters that could be playing. There's a lot of skaters that should be playing because there's a lot of good skaters out there.
Yeah. Wow. It's so inspiring. You're like I feel like I want to do it, but I also feel
You
scared.
should.
But
Everybody
yeah.
should. If that's something that you desire, the only
Mhm.
person that's holding you back is you. Because they
Yeah.
have non-contact leagues, especially in Toronto. I know that. And then they
Mhm.
have clinics where they teach you, right? So there's a whole series. Like you have to pass this WAFTA minimum skills before you can play. So they're not
Yeah.
going to let you play because there's something there that's you have to do 25 laps in 5 minutes. Well, now it's 27.
Okay.
It's even more, and
Right.
that's a hard thing to do. But it's all about conditioning, right? They want you to be
Mhm.
conditioned to be able to skate. Like I said, a 2 minute jam doesn't seem like long, 2 minutes, but 2 minutes is like 5 minutes in your head because you just
Right.
can't wait for this whistle to blow, right? So the jammer to call off the jam, right? Because
Yeah.
usually when they feel like they're defeated or they can't score any more points or they're just tired, they will call off the jam and then the next jam starts. So it's
Yeah.
three periods of 20 minutes, I believe. Maybe it's changed now, I don't know, but that's how it used
Mhm.
to be. And I couldn't wait for the last whistle to finish, especially I used to watch the clock, and just let that clock run out. And I've played some pretty tight games with pretty advanced players. Like that first team of
Mhm.
Toronto, they wanted to play everybody. Like they played 11 games in one season, which is unheard of because usually you're lucky to get one game a month during the summer because all the
Mhm.
rinks, they have ice in the winter, so they have no place to play in the winter. They don't play in the summer, and that's when you can have 1,000 people show up to a game, and it's mayhem. There's bands, there's merch. Like if you can ever get to a
Oh,
game, it's good fun, and it's fun
I
for
want to go.
the
Yeah,
whole
I want to check it out.
love it,
Yeah, just the way
love
you
it.
describe the energy of all of it. Like I want to wear hot pink fishnets and get
Yeah,
out
you
there.
can you can wear whatever. Like it's
Yeah.
open to everybody. And that's another thing
Yeah.
that roller derby you'll find it's not closed to anybody. Now, well, when I played, there was no men involved. Now there's all kinds of men. There's men coaches, there's men's teams, and
Oh,
that's really
there are men's teams
awesome.
now.
There's men's teams, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Cool. Did you see the, well, I think we talked about the movie With It.
Oh
I
yeah.
love that movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
loved it. That's my story. That's me and my
Yeah.
mother. My mother's like, "You can't play that. My mother saw me play one time and I got such a scolding, you don't know. She came
Did
to
you?
the locker room after and she's like, "You're gonna hurt somebody. Why are you doing this?" Yeah, it was just like,
Oh,
oh my God, like get her out of here. She used to get in my head a lot, right? Because
yeah.
when you play derby too, the other thing is like you just gotta imagine there's a whole team of bullies coming after you. You got to get in that
Yes.
mindset. So you're always on the defense, right? So you're always
Mhm.
ready. And it's about mind conditioning too, is
Yeah.
that it's a fight or flight kind of atmosphere because the
Yeah.
adrenaline is so strong what you feel. Like I said, the crowd is so loud that
Mhm.
sometimes overtakes you, right? And you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I just want this to end. Like just get this over with.
God.
So
And
when
then you go home and you're like, that was the best.
you can't,
Feel
yeah,
the endorphin. Yeah.
you get body aches just from the adrenaline. It's like any sport you're playing, right? Like it's just
Yeah.
it's you feel strong, you know how when you finish skating, how great you feel. So imagine
Yeah.
that 10 times, right?
Oh God. Yeah, it would be addictive after. Yeah. Well, we skating is addictive,
It is
totally.
addictive, right? It's like there's
Yeah.
nothing like it. And that's what I try and tell people. I said, you don't know until you do it. Once you start doing
Yeah.
it, then you get it. Most people don't get it. It's like it's your happy place. You can have
Mhm.
all the problems in the world, you can have all the drama in the world. Once you step on that rink and you hear the music, it's only you and the music. I don't even see people when I go skating. I don't talk to anybody. I go there to skate. I don't go there to socialize. I don't go there to make friends.
Mhm.
You know, if I sit on the bench and I try and talk to somebody because I feel winded, I need a rest. I
Yeah.
sit more now than I ever have. I mean, I used to skate full 3 hours straight, never get off the floor. It's only the past couple years that I have a chair now at the rink. I sit on the bench. I, because
Yeah.
I feel like I'm slowing down. But am I slowing down in my mind or am I slowing down in my body? I feel like I'm
Mhm.
slowing down in my body a little bit, but
Yeah.
I that's my goal this summer. I'm going to try and get back where maybe I don't need to sit down. You do your own little personal goals for yourself, right?
Yeah.
Where
Definitely.
you're going to learn how to do crossovers. Like that girl just
Yeah.
probably needs a quick lesson and she's
Mhm.
good. You just need to practice. Like, and
Yeah.
everybody there is, they'll help you. A lot of people are
Yeah.
more than willing. When I see people struggling, especially at the pier, I'll see a kid and the
Mhm.
mom, and I'm like, she's the problem. Just leave the kid, and I
Yeah.
say, give me 5 minutes. I'll say it's all about balance, it's your posture, do this, put your head up. That kid is skating by the end of the night, and then
Yeah.
they love it, right? Like they just who would
Yeah.
know that you could buy a kid a pair of skates for $100 and that's what they used to be $50 when I grew up, right? Pair of skates.
Yeah.
Best investment
I
my
know.
parents ever made, kept me off the street. But I would when I get grounded, when I was a kid, I'd get grounded from the rink because that's the only
Yeah.
punishment that would work. And a lot of kids, like once you start an activity that you really, really love, that's how you and how many kids do that nowadays? Not a lot. Like,
I know. Yeah, I love that. I mean, I went on a Saturday night to Scooters about a month ago, and there were a lot of kids, and it was a little bit chaotic. I found like I prefer the adult skate, but I was just it brought me so much joy to see all these kids that were not on devices, that were moving their bodies and the family time. And that's another thing about Scooters. Like you see people there who have been skating with their kids, since they were little people, like your son. And now those little people are full grown adults and they're still
mhm.
skating with their parents. Like how cool is it when you're 20 that you got parents that are in their late 50s that are kicking ass on the rink,
Yeah,
it's just like I sometimes think like, God, what would have been like if my dad had been into roller skating? Like
yeah.
that would have been quite something. So yeah, it is such a joyful place. And I agree. You just sort of, it's transcendental. You're in your body and then you're not. And then it's like 3 hours go by and you just feel so good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
weird. Like it's such a weird thing when you try and explain it because most people I work with, they don't get off the couch when they go home. They're like, "You're going where? And you're going to do what?" And da da da, right? Like, what's your weekend like? And I'm like, "Oh, well, I'm going to Detroit. I'm going to Soul Skate. There's going to be 3,000 people there, and blah blah blah, skaters from all
Yeah.
over the world." And they're like, "Huh?" Like people can't
Yeah.
believe there's this whole world that they know nothing about. And I'm like, I encourage people to come to the pier, even if you don't skate, bring a lawn chair. Come and sit,
Hmm.
watch the skaters, listen to the music, enjoy what Hamilton has to offer. A lot of people, they still don't even know it's there,
Yeah.
and
Oh, it's such a great spot. It's beautiful. And the sunsets there, my God.
yeah, where are you going to see that? Nowhere. You got to go to Jamaica
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah. Yeah. You get a Jamaican sunset in Hamilton. So, Cynthia, are you still coaching? Like, are you still
No, I
doing
don't.
that or?
I mean, I've had people reach out to me and ask, but
Mhm.
not really in that capacity. Like I said, I don't mind an informal. If somebody says to me, "I'm going to the pier. Are you going to be there?" I'll be like, "Sure, I'm going to be there. I'll be there. I'll meet you there, and I'll do a little one-on-one, whatever."
Mhm.
I did have Warner used to reach out to me and ask me to come teach lessons and stuff like that. But it was very hot down there to do that in the daytime. And, I work full time. I was busy with my son. I really didn't have it in my schedule to do that. I might do that when I retire, 'cause
Mhm.
this is always open to you. And I've had like people that in the Optimist Club, they wanted to do something jointly and stuff like that. But no, not really. I mean,
Mhm.
I usually let people do what they need to, whatever they want to do, however they
Yeah.
want to do it, because I see a lot of new skaters that they have the wrong posture, but that's the way they're teaching them. So they're teaching them like speed skaters to be bent over. Well, you got to learn to skate before
Yeah.
you can be a speed skater, right?
Yes,
It's
exactly.
common sense. There's certain mechanics that you have to know what to do. I mean, if somebody asks me, I love racing kids. I used to have a bunch of kids that I used to race at the end of the night. That was always fun because I would always beat them,
Oh,
right?
yeah. That's great. I
But they're all
love
grown
it.
up now. Like in 10 years, they were
Yeah.
6 when they used to come there. Now they're off doing other things. So that was always fun
Yeah.
because they would say, "Are we going to race at the end of the night?" And I'm like, "Sure." Yeah,
That's
so that's
great.
kind of the only coaching, like, you know.
Yeah. That you do. So, I wanted to ask you also because of the derby and the contact and taking falls and all that kind of thing. Oftentimes what will happen is people will maybe come back to roller skating, they'll have a good experience, they'll have a couple of little falls, and then maybe one day they have a bigger fall and they injure themselves. And then it's like, I've met people at scooters with a broken shoulder, I broke this skating. And as we get older, I think we get a lot more scared about breaking things and hurting things because the recovery time is so much longer. Is there any advice you would give to people who have maybe experienced a bad fall where they're holding back a little and they want to get back out there, but it's a challenge? Like, what would you
I've
say
known
to people?
skaters that have broken legs, broken their ankles, and it's when they're ready. I'm scared every
Yeah.
week. Every Sunday I go there, I'm scared because of the way the speed. I'm like, where are these people going? Like they skate so fast, right? But
Yeah.
they're into their own element, right? And I've been skating how long? But there's always that fear in the back of your head, but you have to put that out of your head and just
Mhm.
again, it's mind over matter, right? Like
Yeah.
the one girl that I know, she was wearing a low boot, like a derby skate. And I said to her, if you're going to come back skating, I'd suggest that you get a full boot because it's going to give you more support,
Mhm.
And I have people that want to learn to skate backwards. And I'm like, okay, well, we can work on that. I don't really even skate backwards anymore, but maybe that's something I'll start doing to. So
Yeah.
I'd love to be able to waltz again. I haven't waltzed in years, but I'm sure I could still do it. But it's the whole transition, right? Like your body doesn't maneuver like it once did.
Yeah.
Certain things just change. Like I find my balance is quite different. But do I still think I could play roller derby in my head? Of course I can, right? Because I can still skate. But whether I could or not, my son says, "Oh, but what happens when you fall down? You won't be able to get up." And I'm like, "Yeah, probably." Right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I don't
So
know.
true.
It's like it's up to the
Yeah.
individual. Like I would never coax somebody that really didn't really feel confident that they wanted to do it. I would just try to
Mhm.
be supportive and saying, well, you know, you can baby steps like everything, right? You always
Yeah,
have to
exactly.
start out slow and then you'll feel stronger and then maybe you have to do some drills or maybe you have to do some training at the gym or depending
Mhm.
on and whether their doctor says, can I go back skating again? You have to get
Yeah.
a medical clearance first and foremost because I would never
Yeah.
chances of you breaking the same thing are hardly unlikely. But
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. You've got so many people commenting on this interview.
oh yeah,
Let me tell you, Dave has offered to teach you to waltz, or
uh
if you want to waltz, he can help you, he said.
yeah.
And yeah, lots of people, Melissa Browning's on, and Don Arthur and Skater Rob. I believe I shared a locker with
Oh
Cynthia
yeah, Robbie.
at, at Roundabout over 40 years ago.
Yeah, when we were kids.
And yeah, Mary Jane saying, I remember Jeff. And
Mhm.
Dave saying, oh, here we go. Uh, Jeff won a bronze medal in men's freestyle for Canada at the 1984 World Championship.
Yeah. Isn't that something?
Yeah,
I get goosebumps.
yeah.
Like, and I see him from time to time, and he's always like so loving, like so Storm, and I'm like, yeah. If
Oh,
if nobody ever told me I could skate again, that meant the world to me because I really respected him as a kid, idolized him,
yeah,
because he
yeah,
he is somebody. And Dave too. Dave
yeah,
teaches skating. Um,
yeah,
it depends who it's coming from, really, that
yeah.
means the most, so
Right. Yeah, it's beautiful. My friend Melanie is clapping. Skater Rob says Skinny Minnie Miller was a good jammer.
oh my god, she was
Skinny Minnie
amazing.
Miller. Yeah. Oh, Mary Jane said to Skater Rob that her cousin was Kinky K from the Death Track Dolls. I love the name.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I know the Death Track dolls. They're Toronto. That's a Toronto based team.
yeah. This is so funny. Anyways, I won't read all the comments. You're going to thoroughly enjoy them after. But there, like there's a lot of them are saying, remember skating like from 8 till 8 and not getting off the rink,
Yeah.
with the all night skaters. Yeah, it's so cool. It's like the dance-a-thons and all those things, the energy we had then, eh?
I think, but that was our conditioning. Like, who knew? Because they
Yeah.
usually say, in order to be proficient at something, it's a 10,000 hour task, right? So
Yes.
you have
Yes.
these kids that start 8, 10, 12, 11, whatever age you started skating at. I know I went to the rink 4 days a week. Like, I went on ladies' night, I went on family night, and I went on Saturday and a Sunday. So four nights at least, and then you do that for 10 years, right? 10 years solid, like with no breaks. That's a constant, that.
Yeah.
And then periodic, like, your body has this memory and it remembers what it used to do. So, and
Mm.
that's why a lot of people, when they leave skating and then they come back, yeah, it might take them a half a dozen times, but your body remembers what it used to do, especially if you were an avid skater. It will just
Yes.
pick it back up and it will just continue on. And that's why you see people 50, 60, 70. There used to be a couple there in their 80s. They were the rink pros. Um,
Mhm.
I just can't think of their name at the moment, but they were amazing, and I remember speaking to them, like, she was 84 and he was 83, and they'd been skating like since they were teenagers. And
Oh, yeah, it's beautiful. It's
skating,
so, and I'm always saying to people, like, if you skated as a teen and you haven't done it in a while, come out and do the lessons at Scooters. I remember, I think it was like my third lesson, and I was back. I was like,
yeah,
oh my
see,
God, the
yeah,
14-year-old's back. It didn't take long. Like, you know, and it's just like a tweak. It's like, okay, I got to hold my, bend my knees a little, do this with my pelvis, my
yeah,
back, whatever. And yeah, yeah. But still, like you said, every once in a while, I think the last time I was at Scooters, I had two moments where I went, oh, the
yeah,
whoa, like it just kind of came from nowhere. But it's just a reminder, be careful,
yeah. And
and you
because you're
can't
skating
control
on
what other
cement,
people are doing.
right? You're skating on
Yeah.
that cement floor. If you skated on a wood floor, you don't have to push as fast, you glide. And that's why we travel around, is for that
Mm.
opportunity to skate at these other rinks. Because, when you said you came into Scooters and you're like in awe, I went to a rink
Yeah.
in Detroit last year, and it was all pink and yellow. And I just wanted to cry when I went in there. I just thought, this is the most beautiful rink I've ever seen. It was so bright and airy. And I'm just like, I was on that floor for like an hour before anybody got there. And I had the best time just by
Oh, that's
myself with
amazing.
the
So
music.
where do you stay when you go to Detroit? Like,
Well, you just book a
do you,
hotel, right? Like, so there'll
yeah.
be a skate party and they
Okay.
have flyers, and then there's usually a host hotel or there's a host skate group. And then,
Yeah.
word of mouth travels. And, but
Yeah.
Soul Skate is, it's a big production. It's every 2 years. That's one of the
Okay.
more well-known ones. But
Yeah.
as kids, when we went to all-night skates, like we went to Aurora, we went to Buffalo, Hamilton, Toronto, Cambridge. Like we were teenagers. Like the first time
Yeah.
I went to Buffalo, I think I was 15. And
God,
my
don't you love it? I love our parents. Go.
Yeah, well, my mom was like, "No, no, no," and my dad's like, "You can go, but if you get in any trouble, you won't be going again." I'm like, "I'm going to
Yeah.
roller skate, like I'm not going anywhere, right?" And then
Yeah.
you'd find boys with cars, and then you'd get a drive because we didn't drive then either, right? So
Right.
yeah, so
Yeah. Oh, Cynthia, this is so fun. I love chatting with you, and I think
well,
you're just
thank you.
awesome.
I
You're
love chatting with you too.
so much fun. Yeah. Yeah. So, will we see you at Scooters on Thursday? Are you going to come out this week?
Probably not. I don't really skate
No.
on Thursdays. I skate on
Yeah.
Sundays.
Okay.
Um, I've gone on other nights, but
Yeah.
I prefer to skate outside, honestly.
Do
As much
you?
as I love scooters, like I love Michael, and I'm kind of
Mhm.
sad that if that comes to an end. But yeah, my
Yes.
preference is to skate outside. I love skating at the pier. I love doing the
Mhm.
trails. I love a wood floor. Like that's just my. If we could, somehow, some way get a rink here with a wood floor. There's more rinks opening. I see there's some buzz in Calgary. They're
Okay.
opening a new rink and it's going to have a wood floor. Vancouver, there's a new rink. Where they're old rinks but new rinks.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
this
yeah.
you might
Be
see a
great.
whole. We used to have five, six different rinks in Hamilton, like in the 80s, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That might be a resurgence.
We might see
That
that
would be
again.
really nice. Yeah. Let's hope for that. That would be good. Thank you so much for your time and talking to us about
Well,
roller derby, and the empowerment piece is so huge. I just love it.
you
It's so
should get to
great.
a game though. It's a lot of
Yeah.
fun. And
Yes.
like I said, those women, I mean, you'll see some of the skating, like, because usually there's a lot of newbies, a lot of rookies. But, if you go back and you see them, you'll see the improvement. You see how they evolve. And, you got to have a team together for a few years in order for them to gel, right?
Yeah.
But the problem
Yeah.
is people
Right.
drop off, they leave, they come back, you know, and
Yeah.
you can watch Derby online. Like, I don't know if anybody's aware of this, but Canada, like we have a kick-ass team in Montreal. They're like phenomenal. And
Good.
they should be there's a lot of teams in the US. Like every city has 5, 6, 7 different leagues. Like there's a lot of competition.
Wow. It's a whole world to be explored.
It
Yeah.
is.
Very
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. Cynthia, I'm going to put you in my virtual green room. Haha. And then I'll come right back to you and I'll just say goodbye to everybody. But thank you again.
You're
You
very
were
welcome.
amazing. Thanks.
Take care.
You too. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Oh my gosh. I was so entranced by that conversation. And yeah, I'm sure my mom's watching me and going, oh gosh, please don't start doing roller derby. Anyways, it looks like a great sport, and I learned so much about it that I did not know, and I hope you did too. Thank you guys so much for chiming in. Don't forget to check out our sponsors, brendabadome.com. Use the coupon code Get to Know Them for 20% off your order. Scooters, we'll see you there on a Thursday night in Mississauga. Flourishandbasque.ca. Use the coupon code Get to Know Them for 10% off, and try some of their alcohol-free choices. So yummy. And don't forget to check out my website, glamjewels, GLAMJULZ.com, and work with me to do a fundraising piece to raise money for a cause you believe in 2024. Thank you so much for being here today. Keep on showing the world your sparkle, and I will see you back here next week with another guest. Bye for now.